Well, good morning. A beautiful setting, great people. You do a wonderful job. But there's somebody that's done a really spectacular job this year that I want to recognize. You know, an executive director becomes very close to their president. I mean, it's just a relationship. If there's a problem that I need to discuss about operating or direction or whatever, that's the phone number I call. And we have been very, very fortunate to have had the leadership of a spectacular leader in Nancy Chambers. Nancy she just has kept our ship straight and strong in the most professional way. I've seen her in leadership places in the state capitol and in organizations we work with and working with you. So I present a personal gift to the president, and this lady's been a great friend to me. I appreciate your husband as well. I hope you'll hang this somewhere where everybody will say she has been a special leader to Mississippi cities and towns, and she really has. Thank you, Nancy, for what you've done. I appreciate that. I love you. Thank you.
It's been my great pleasure to serve as the president of the Municipal League, and I appreciate all of you for the opportunity to do that. But I would like to say a special thanks to the Board of Aldermen from the City of Forest for taking up the slack and making it possible for me to serve as president of MML. Where are you? I know you're out there somewhere. There you are, right. You know, you have to have a strong support group, and that is my support group. Mr. President, if you would come forward. It is also a great pleasure for me to pass this gavel to Chip Johnson, President of the Municipal League, and to remind you that, as Mr. Cook said, lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'm getting out of the way, so you'll do a good job. Get away from over there.
If y'all notice, there's been a lot of things done this year in the league. A lot of legislation passed, a lot of legislation killed. That was a good thing. A lot of things have just kept flowing steady. And that wouldn't have happened without Nancy and her close relationship with Tim and myself and with George. So I hope I can do as well as you in the future, Nancy. And then we have a gift for you. We'd like to present this to you, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you for the kind words.
And this is where I get to give my incoming 1-hour speech. I'm excited about it. Everybody always wants to know what the new president's going to do. I think we're going to do more of the same. We're just going to keep improving. The league is doing a lot of education. And if you'll notice, every year we have more and more education. That is our first priority. We have to keep learning. I've been coming to these things since 2001, and I still go to class and I still learn. Just because you get all 3 of your CMO designations doesn't mean you quit going. Every time I go to a class or teach a class, I learn something from somebody that's there. We take it home to Hernando and try to build a great city with the information we get, just like all of you are. So we're going to keep doing that. We're also going to keep doing the other thing that we do so well. We're going to keep doing our legislative agenda. We always have to be watching out, and we play defense a lot. We've got a good team with Trey and Quincy, and we kill bills that are going to hurt cities. And then we support bills and even go so far as to ask legislators to introduce bills that would help cities. And I'm going to talk just for a second about one of those bills that we've been working on for years. And y'all can guess what it is. Y'all remember the word most? It's the last time I want to hear that word. Y'all are wondering why. Which stands for Municipal Option Sales Tax. This legislature, even if it's a great idea, they are not going to pass anything with the word tax in it. So I need your help coming up with a new acronym, a new way to label the bill that will be introduced this year. But I want to go back and give the little talk I give to the first graders when they come to City Hall, and they want to know what taxes are. And I had to think about it a long time. I gave them the big definition one year and they all fell asleep on me, so I knew I had to change it. But the way I look at taxes, we all think they're a dirty word. And they are if they're misused. But taxes are a way we share with each other. I can't afford to have a fireman stand in front of my house all day to guard it. I can't afford to have a policeman standing in front of Sam Lauderdale's house all day guarding that house. So we all put our money in a pot and share a police department. We share a fire department. We share a parks department. We can't afford our own park in our backyard. That's what our taxes are. It's what we decide as a citizen group that we think are our priorities and what we're going to share with each other. So what we want to ask the legislature to do this year is to allow us at home to decide what we want to share. That is so important. So I'm going to get off this podium. We're going to go back to eating in just a minute, but I'm going to recognize the head table before I do that. But I want to leave y'all with this thought. As we push forward with this sharing legislation we're going to ask the legislature to do, we're not going to talk about taxes. What we're going to talk about is the best form of government. And the best form of government puts the power back with the citizens we represent and lets them make the decisions.
MML started several years ago recognizing legislators of the year, one from the House, one from the Senate, someone who had stood up for municipal government, someone who has been a friend to this organization in our cities and towns. It's indeed a pleasure today that I have the opportunity to recognize a friend and also a great friend to our cities and towns, Representative Greg Snowden of Meridian, Mississippi. Greg is Speaker Pro Tem of the Mississippi House, which is a very important position. He's a top advisor to Speaker Gunn there in the House of Representatives. He's a great leader and a good friend. You know, it's not often you can recognize someone who is supporting you in the legislature, but who also understands what you do day to day. Representative Snowden has served 17 years as the city attorney for Stonewall, Mississippi. So he knows a little bit about the barking dog complaints, Governor, and he knows about the, you know, the garbage not being picked up. So he can appreciate those things. He's been on the Municipalities Committee since 2000, 13 years now, Greg, and he's always been someone that we could rely on to support our issues in the Mississippi Legislature, particularly the House. He serves on the Rules Committee. He's chairman of the Management Committee, and he just does a great job over there. The only thing I told him that I didn't like about his resume was he had attended the University of Alabama, but other than that, I think he's got a great resume. He's also a very intelligent guy. He's a Phi Beta Kappa member. As most of you know, that's not an easy accomplishment. But Greg, we really appreciate you. And if you want to come forward, we wanted to present you this on behalf of the Mississippi Municipal League in appreciation for your extraordinary support and friendship to the MML.
Well, thank you so much, Trey. You know, I have been coming to these events for many years as a municipal attorney. I never quite thought I'd be up here, but I'm very humbled by it, and I do appreciate it very much. You know, you may not understand it or realize it sometimes because of the way your legislature acts, which is not always good, but I really do believe that at bottom, the Mississippi Legislature understands that the cities and towns of our state really are the economic engine that drives the well-being of our state. If you think about it, most economic activity, most economic development activity occurs within corporate city limits. You know that. The reasons are obvious because of infrastructure and the services that can only be provided through municipalities. And the bottom line is that if we don't have healthy economic activity in the cities and towns of the state of Mississippi, we don't have a healthy state economy, and you know that. If we stray from that, the MML is there to remind us, and they do a fine job. The leadership you have here, Mayors Chambers and Johnson, of course, and George and Trey and Quincy, who we deal with the most, They do a great job. They're professionals. They're credible. They're informative. They give us the information we need. But I'll tell you something about the process that I don't think will hurt their feelings. It's always good to hear from George. It's always good to hear from Trey or Quincy or whatever. But oftentimes, the contact that really matters is if I hear from the mayor of Quitman, or I hear from the city councilman from the city of Meridian, or an alderman from Enterprise. My folks back home, there's Bobby Smith from the city of Meridian. I hear from you don't know Bobby occasionally. What my point is here, if you haven't developed those relationships, if you don't maintain those relationships, please work on that. And expect your legislators and your House and Senate members to do that, because communication is vital. And it really does mean so much to hear from your own folks back home. As was mentioned, I'm privileged to represent 5 municipalities in my district, the city of Meridian, city of Quitman, and the town of Stonewall, Enterprise, and Marion. Fine places all. And those are my 5 hometowns. And I want to thank those folks particularly for helping me through my career and helping send me to Jackson to serve them. I do want to thank very briefly, thank you all on behalf of the House, Speaker Gunn, and the House leadership. And I want to say this about the House leadership. We're very proud of our chairman, of our team that works together, chairman and vice chairman. 2 of the very best and most competent we have are assigned to municipalities. Representative Ed Blackman from Canton and David Myers from Macomb, chairman and vice chairman, fine individuals, people that are experienced, that are seasoned. That's the kind of folks we have involved in municipalities and the House of Representatives, the kind of folks you can relate to and can relate to you. I do want a brief moment of indulgence here. I have here today Janetta Kendrick, who is my secretary, the secretary for the Speaker Pro Tem. Janetta, as many of you know, is married to her husband Joseph, who's an alderman for Terry, Mississippi. So when you deal with my office in the Capitol, you're dealing with one of your own. I want you to know that, and it's important to me and important to you. I want to brag a little bit on our great governor of the state of Mississippi. I think Phil Bryant is well positioned to lead the state forward. I'm excited about serving with him. And before I sit down, I want to say how special it is to share this stage with my good friend, Tate Reeves. Tate Reeves has done a tremendous job as one of the finest young leaders in this state, leading the state Senate. I want to just share one quick story with you. You know, the media particularly focuses on disagreements. We've had some of those. You're going to have that in government. You all are aware of that. How many of you know that the budget of the state of Mississippi was put together on time for the first time in at least 8 years this past session? The Senate and the House working together in a cooperative spirit. Much of that credit, of course, goes to Chairman Frierson and Chairman Clark, the 2 respective appropriations chairmen, but it's also because of the leadership of Philip Gunn and Tate Reeves that happened. That's not something you hear a lot about, but we ought to brag on. I tell you something else. You're probably not aware that the legislature finished 3 full days ahead of schedule on the calendar. We finished the session in advance by 3 days, and when you look at the days, Governor, that we saved over the course of the session, we actually finished 7 or 8 days ahead of what we were scheduled to do. Your legislature has been about the work of the people and doing a good job at it, in my opinion. Quickly, I wanted to tell you, very last day of the session. The session's over. I'm in my office doing a little work, finishing up, go in to sit down with the Speaker. And we kind of share back and forth, you know, the successes and a few failures of the session. Feeling good. It's our first time at bat, so to speak. Spontaneously, Philip Gunn says, you know, we need to walk down the hall and congratulate Tate on a fine session and working together in the way that we've done this and been able to accomplish that. That's a great idea, Philip. We stand up, if you've been in the Speaker's office, we go to the door, into the little foyer. Before you go out in the hall, guess who's standing there? Tate Reeves is standing there. The same thought has occurred to him. And he's down. We share about an hour and a half, just talking about all the cooperative things we have done in the session. It's a very positive thing. You have positive leadership at the legislature and in the governor's office. And I want to, as a final word of encouragement before I sit down, one of the most important things I think, and I've shared this with George before, in my 13 years in the legislature, I have seen increased cooperation between the supervisors and the Municipal League. I think that's critical. I think that's critical. I think it's great that Derek's here today. Cities and counties and towns, local government, we understand, at our level in Jackson for certainly, we understand the best ideas don't come from Washington, D.C. You understand better than anybody, the best ideas don't always come out of Jackson, Mississippi. The best ideas come from your local government when you can look people in the eye and make those decisions with your constituents looking at you and holding you accountable. And that's where it all begins and ends, ladies and gentlemen. If we forget that in the legislature and don't support you in that endeavor, please let us hear from you. I know the MML always does. Thank you again so much for this great honor.
Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves is our Legislator of the Year for the Senate. Lieutenant Governor Reeves sees the big picture in the state, and I'm telling you, that's an important thing. His service as treasurer and his experiences help him to see the whole picture, and that's a good thing for our state, and that's a good thing for cities and towns. Tate Reeves understands how decisions impact the state budget and how much cities contribute, and they contribute over 72% of the state income tax, state sales tax is generated in Mississippi's cities and towns. He understands that. When Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves was first elected, Trey and I went and visited with the Lieutenant Governor, and we talked about a lot of things, but one of the things we talked about is we said, Lieutenant Governor, when an issue comes before you and comes in the Senate and it affects cities and towns in a major way, we'd like to be at the table. And by golly, he's done that, and I appreciate that so much. It means a lot to us and to the folks here in this room, and I want to thank his staff too. I know some of them are here for doing that. I want to present now a friend to Mississippi cities and towns, and I want to ask you to stand and let's give him a great applause. The Legislator of the Year in the Senate, Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves.
Thank you all. I really appreciate the honor of being here with you today. I should begin my remarks as I came in the room and worked the line to get into the lunch as I often do. I was fortunate enough to see so many of you that were so very helpful to me during the campaign last year. And I want to say, as Ely and I traveled around Mississippi, you were so kind to welcome us in your communities, in your cities, in your towns, and we're honored that you were willing to share 2011 with us. As I think about this award and think as to what was said earlier, I remember a specific meeting, and I think this was the second or third one that we had. I was in this little small place called Hernando, Mississippi. And Chip and I were talking, and we talked for hours about a number of different issues that affect each and every one of you. And the thing that I said to him when we concluded was, and I meant this, and it's the campaign promise I made to him at that time that I spoke with George and Quincy and others about, and that is this. While we may not agree on every issue, what you will always have, as long as I'm Lieutenant Governor, is on those issues that affect you, you will have a seat at the table to make your case. Hey. And the thing that it's imperative that those of us in Jackson recognize is that your constituents are my constituents. And as we look at legislation that's going to affect both your constituents and mine, it's imperative that we work together to make Mississippi a better place to raise a family, a better place to create jobs, because in this tough economic environment, that must be our #1 priority. Bring better and higher paying jobs to our state, and you, as the leaders of your local communities, are key in what is the most important thing that we can do right now to improve Mississippi. Again, thank you for this wonderful honor. Thank you. We're going to talk a lot about what transpired during this legislative session and really talk about what's most important, and that is the approach that we've taken to legislation and to governing, and that is for all of our municipal officials, all of our county officials as well. Their constituents are my constituents, and so it's best for all of us to work together to make Mississippi a better place.
What are some of the issues important to local government that you're supportive of at the state level?
Well, I think one of the primary things that we did this year is really two things. One, when I was running, I sat down with all of the leadership of the Municipal League and said, look, we're not going to agree on every issue, but the one thing I can commit to is that on every issue that affects local governments, we will allow you to have a seat at the table so that we can make sure we understand all of the issues, because I think informed decisions are best decisions that are made for the taxpayers. And the other thing that we promise is that we're going to work very hard to stay away from unfunded mandates, because again, if we send unfunded mandates to the local level and they choose to raise taxes on my constituents, that's not a good thing for my constituents. So we want to work together to make sure that we're not doing that.
What's your assessment of the legislative session that's just wrapped up?
Well, I was extremely pleased that we made such tremendous progress on job creation, what Governor Bryant called the most business-friendly session in modern Mississippi history. We were able to lower taxes on small businesses. We were able to invest in education. We were able to pass some meaningful education reform that I think is going to improve the educational attainment level of our citizens. And those are the kind of things that we talked about during the campaign. We promised we would do. We're going to reduce the overall debt burden on Mississippi taxpayers, and we're going to get control of spending. We passed a car moratorium this year in which no new automobiles can be purchased in the fiscal year that begins July 1. It's about $12.5 million a year the state spends on that. Those are real dollar savings for the taxpayers, and that's what they expect us to do in these tough economic times.
As the incoming president, I want to make sure that we continue our education process. When I first got elected, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I did not. So coming to these classes has helped me be a better mayor and a better leader, and it's helping the entire state when we can learn things from each other and learn how to do them legally within the boundaries of the state statutes.
What kind of a grade would you give to the past session of the legislature?
I think the past session was about a C+. There were some good things done. There were some things that were proposed that would have been detrimental to cities that we had to work on to kill those items. But I think overall they did a pretty good job this year.
Are you encouraged by everything that you've heard and seen here today with local government?
Well, this is a great group of people. They work very hard working to provide the services that they do at the local level. And you know, I've been coming to the Mississippi Municipal League for a number of years, and really count many of these members as friends, not only as partners in working to make Mississippi a better place, but as friends. And I'm always encouraged to have the opportunity to spend some time with them.
I think when the conference is over, I want everybody to remember that municipal government is government closest to the people. We're the ones in the grocery store with the citizens every day. We absolutely know what the people want, and we hear it from them every day. So I think we need to have a voice at the Capitol every year.
There's a man who lives beside me who fought in World War II. He proudly waved Old Glory from high upon his roof. He starts out every morning like it's Independence Day. I've seen him at attention salute the flag and say, I love this land from sea to shining sea. I love this land, home of the brave and free. I love the liberty, the justice, and the truth in which we stand. One nation under God. I love this land. Now all across this country, in big cities, little towns, while mama's getting ready, dad pulls the car around. They join the congregation to sing Amazing Grace. They're free to worship Jesus, to bow their heads and pray. I love this land from sea to shining sea. I love this land, home of the brave and free. I love the liberty, one nation under God. I love this land. God bless America. Land I love. Oh, I will stand beside her and defend her with my life, for children, for freedom. I love this land from sea to shining sea. I love this land, home of the brave and free. I love the liberty, the justice, and the truth in which we stand, one nation under God. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I love this land. I love this land.
If people have questions or like more information, what should they do?
Well, call our office. We've got a number of staff people, although it's a small staff in Jackson, Mississippi, and we'd be glad to either answer those questions or refer them to someone that can.